Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news, and we are finally in the week where we see some next generation games. Of course, the Xbox Series X Inside Xbox event will be happening in just a few short days this Thursday, where they focus on some big third-party games. I'm really curious as to what they could possibly show there. I mean, maybe they could show that new Harry Potter game. There's also a new Batman game coming as well, and we also have Tales of Arise and Elden Rings. Could any of those show up at this Xbox Series X event? I guess we'll find out here soon, but I'm personally really excited to see some ray tracing on these new games because I do think that will be the biggest change going into next generation from a visual standpoint. So yeah, I'm really excited to see this later in the week, but with that said though, we still do have a lot of news to go over today. There was a huge Nintendo leak over the weekend that could be big for emulation, a big advancement on PlayStation VR 2 technology, and also, even though E3 has been cancelled, it looks like we are starting to hear a little bit more about how it will be replaced, and it does appear to be an industry-wide group effort, so we will get into all that here in just a moment. First though, before we get into all of that, let's go over some of the quick news, and right away we have a big game heading over to Steam, Yakuza Like a Dragon, aka Yakuza 7. Yakuza Like a Dragon leaked onto Steam database and you can already see it there, and this is a big deal for a few different reasons. For one, this is an amazing franchise, so for any PC gamer, that's already great news. But there is more to this because usually, Yakuza does release on PlayStation first, but could we see a simultaneous release in the West this time around? I mean, maybe it is possible, and also Yakuza Like a Dragon has not yet got an official release date for the West. Now, it has already released in Japan back in January for the PlayStation 4, but so far the Western release is unknown. As of this moment, it's just expected to release sometime in 2020, but with this newfound Yakuza 7 page, a release date announcement may be imminent. That actually got me to thinking, could this show up at the Xbox Series X event this Thursday and get a multi-platform announcement alongside a release date? The Yakuza games have been coming over to the Xbox platform here recently, so I don't think that's impossible. Both Yakuza 0 as well as Kiwami just released on Xbox One in just the last couple months, and Kiwami 2 has already been confirmed. So could Yakuza 7 be announced at this event? It probably won't be because this is a current generation game, but I'm not going to rule out anything just yet. And speaking of Yakuza, there is one franchise that kind of reminds me of Yakuza just a little bit, and that is Shenmue, which was an old Sega Dreamcast franchise up until recently when Deep Silver published the new Shenmue 3. Of course, fans had to wait for 17 long years to finally get Shenmue 3 to get to the next chapter in the saga. The thing about Shenmue 3 though, was that it took quite a few fans by surprise and that it still did not actually finish the story, and instead, the creative director Yu Suzuki revealed that in order to finish the story he would need to make several more games. That to me was a little risky considering the lack of success from previous Shenmue games. I mean, there was a reason it could not be made for 17 years, and then it had to get crowdfunding along with a publisher support. And sure enough, Shenmue 3 did not sell that well outside of its Kickstarter campaign, which once again puts a Shenmue 4 in doubt. I mean, even Deep Silver talked about it being a niche game in a financial report, which is not something you want to hear from your own publisher. However, with all of that said, Yu Suzuki still does believe that there will be a Shenmue 4, and that this time around, if he gets to make it, he will make it appeal to a wider audience, which is really good news. It seems Shenmue 3 tried to keep things a little bit more old school, which some of the older fans may have really appreciated, but in order for this franchise to continue forward, he may need to consider that wider audience to support the game. So we will have to wait and see if we get that Shenmue 4, but I really do hope we do, because you Shenmue fans really do deserve it. I mean, you guys deserve to see the end of the story for Shenmue, so hopefully we get a Shenmue 4, and we'll see what these changes will be if it does happen. Also, we got an update on a next generation game, Lord of the Rings Gollum. It will be coming to the Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and PC. Now, this game actually was announced quite a while ago as a stealth-based game, but today we finally got our first glimpse as to what this game will look like, and so far the community seems to be very split on whether they like it or not. I mean, the developers of Daedalic Entertainment did say that this would be a different interpretation on Gollum than what we have seen in the movies for The Lord of the Rings. But you should probably know that there are some pretty passionate fans of this franchise, so of course not everybody is going to like it. For me personally, I think it looks okay. It is a little bit more artistic and a little less gritty, but the most important thing hasn't really been shown yet. That of course will be the gameplay. I think that is where we need to judge this game, and until then I don't have much of an opinion on this game, but I will ask you, do you like the art style that we have seen so far in Lord of the Rings Gollum? Let me know in the comments below. With that said though, let's get into some of the bigger stuff, and yes, another E3 replacement was announced by Geoff Keighley, the man behind the Game Awards. Of course, the Game Awards has been mostly really good in recent years, and even the Xbox Series X was announced at the last one, so Geoff Keighley does know how to put a good show together. However, there are still a lot of questions about this event being dubbed Summerfest. This actually is not just one big show, but rather it appears to be a bunch of events that will be scheduled from May to August. I don't really know how all that will play out exactly, but several publishers have already partnered up to do something in this Summerfest. Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, CD Projekt Red, EA, 2K, Activision, and plenty of others will be joining in this Summerfest. So a lot of events over the next couple of months will be linked to the Summerfest. And actually inside Xbox, this Thursday where the Xbox Series X will show third-party games, will be linked to the Summerfest as well. From the sounds of it, he will be helping put these streams together, maybe organizing them and not conflict with other announcements, and put them together in a more interactive way. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. Maybe this Thursday we'll find out a little bit more how all this will work with Inside Xbox. Now, Summerfest has already announced the next event as well, which will be EA Play on June 11th. Once again, this is being linked to Summerfest, so we'll see how all that goes. We may end up seeing that new Battlefield game there, which would be really exciting, and probably your next Madden, FIFA, and so on and so forth. EA doesn't always have the most exciting events, but I always watch them anyways because, I mean, you never know, they may have a nice surprise. This whole Summerfest, though, does bring up another big question, however. What about IGN's Summer of Gaming? That was also announced to be an E3 replacement as well, which will be taking place in June. So apparently several publishers will be at this IGN event, including Square Enix, Bandai Namco, you have Amazon, and several others. I mean, I guess this year our E3 will be really spread out over the next couple months, which is understandable, honestly. Everybody is trying to work together the best they possibly can in a time like this, and it's not like this was planned a year in advance or anything. If E3 doesn't come back next year, maybe Summerfest or Summer of Gaming can be a little bit more well planned than they have this year, but I'm still really excited either way. We got some big events coming up, and with things so spread out, that just means that I can cover things even better than I could have before. With E3, you often miss announcements because there are just so many games announced in a short period of time. This way though, we should be able to cover games in a much more thorough manner, but for the moment, I would like to see a schedule of when all of these events will take place. Right now, Summerfest has not given us that and how often we should expect an event. You know, how often will these be happening? Nonetheless, I do like the idea, I just need to see it in motion and know a little bit more about it. Let me ask you though, what do you think of this Summerfest? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on though, we have a major Nintendo leak to talk about as a number of things have leaked online regarding Nintendo. This ranges from old Pokemon games, SDKs, old canceled Nintendo games, and even the entire source code for the Nintendo Wii. All of this is just out there online now, and Nintendo is probably very angry over all of this. We have seen them go after Pokemon leakers in the past and target ROM websites, so I'm curious as to what their reaction will be to all of this. Could they crack down on ROMs even more? I really would not put it past them. Though beyond just the Wii source code, there was also some Nintendo 64 and GameCube stuff there as well. But what does all of this mean for you? Well, if you like emulators or building them, this is potentially huge. With this type of information, emulators going forward can be a lot less buggy. Now, there are already some good emulators out there, such as the Dolphin emulator that allows you to play GameCube and Wii games, but they may be able to improve upon that even further. So yeah, this was a pretty big leak. It was very odd that it came online all these years later. I mean, you are talking about old files, including the Nintendo 64, GameCube, and the Wii. So, it's an odd leak, but I do expect some smart people to go out there and study some of this stuff that is appearing online right now. Now, we do have one last topic to talk about today, and that is with the PlayStation VR 2. So in the past, we have talked about PlayStation VR 2 having finger tracking in their next controllers, as several PlayStation patents have went online detailing this type of technology. So it was pretty much assumed that this would happen by this point. Well, Sony actually released a research video showing this type of technology, and it is looking very impressive. Of course, there are already VR headsets out there that does support finger tracking in some shape or form, including the Oculus Rift S, you have the Quest, and the Valve Index, among some others. So this isn't anything new or anything to the VR space, but to me this is still a really big step forward for PlayStation VR in specific. Now let me explain what I mean by that. Currently, PlayStation VR is known as one of the most affordable VR headsets, and because of that, it has sold quite well, and has introduced plenty of fans into the VR space. But however, unfortunately, in order to play many VR games on PlayStation, you have to purchase the very outdated PlayStation Move controllers. And I'm not saying that the PlayStation Move controllers are terrible or anything, because, well, they're not. And they work okay, but I don't necessarily think that they're great either. This time around though, it looks like PlayStation is actually building real controllers for their next generation VR headset instead of using technology that was not originally intended for virtual reality. And that to me is why I say this is a huge step forward for PlayStation VR. Finger tracking is pretty important for VR as well. This creates a much more immersive experience as you can actually touch things in games such as buttons. That is a part of the reason fans love VR just so much. That immersive experience that 2D gaming just doesn't have, so by adding even just a little bit more immersion with finger tracking is a really big deal. Sony though does seem to be taking VR rather seriously, so I will be interested in what they have to show and if it will launch side by side with the PlayStation 5. I think it probably won't release side by side with the PlayStation 5. I might be wrong about that. We'll see about that. But the thing about these controllers is that it could potentially raise the price for the PlayStation VR 2 headset. These controllers likely won't be cheap, so PlayStation VR 2 may be more expensive this time around, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Peace out.